I can still picture it now. Year 9, back corner of the class. I'm just leaning on my chair and I've got something in my hand, a pen, maybe a spitball. I'm shooting them at the roof, or some sort of lucky band, or I'm flicking it against my arm. And that was like every year of high school for me. Apart from a couple classes. Those classes were, I excelled in phys ed, like woodwork-based stuff I enjoyed, and media, videography, photography. I mean, it was pretty clear at the time what my interests were. Very clear. And it was also very clear what I was not interested in. I didn't think I was a smart kid. I mean, because why would you when, for me, if I got 60% in a test, I'd be like, oh, can't wait to show mum and dad. They're gonna be so proud of me. 60%. I was a big 51% kind of guy. Like, just do whatever it takes to just pass. Yeah, it's sad to say a lot of my grades were below the line, with those D's and those E's, and I saw a lot of C's. C's is in the middle. Saw a lot of those bad boys. So I never thought I was smart at all. I knew I was creative. I knew I was physically capable, but I didn't think I was smart. And I think that can be pretty detrimental to people's lives, not just when they're younger, but it carries through to when they get older as well. And for me, it took a long time to realize that just because I didn't do well in school doesn't mean that I'm not capable. Doesn't mean that I'm not capable of achieving great things and doing well in life. I just knew I wasn't built for school. So for me, the signs of things like ADHD really started to show up when I was younger. I mean, I was interested in so many different things. Like, I honestly switched between so many different sports throughout life. I could never make my mind up what sport I wanted to stick at. You know, t-ball, swimming, athletics, tennis, basketball, AFL, lacrosse. Like, I wanted to do it all. I wanted to try them all. Meanwhile, while I was doing that, I was learning how to juggle. I was making YouTube videos. I was learning how to play multiple different instruments, a bit of piano here, playing guitar, literally laying in my bed at night, just like practicing guitar, falling asleep. I was so addicted to playing guitar for like 6 months. And so I've always had so many different interests. It's a shame none of them were law or economics. You know, that's the truth of it. Like, it's a shame that they weren't the interests. And something else that started to show up in my life was the ups and downs that I would have, which I feel like in my immediate friend group, I certainly didn't see those patterns of behavior like I was starting to experience. I would have quite, I guess, high highs, be really hyped about something and go hard at it for ages. And then I'd have my low periods. And when my low periods were low, I'd get really anxious. And then anxiety started to not just be in the low periods, it started to be all the time. All the time I just felt a little bit wired, like I'd had 5 coffees that day, like just all the time. And my mind would just move faster and faster and faster. But the switch for me, and the thing that started to empower me, was that I started to see the anxiety as just the negative side, or the downside, occasional downside, to what was actually a superpower. Now, I was never diagnosed until I was 31. I'm 32 now, so it was like very recently. But all through my 20s, I told myself, it's okay, brother, while you're feeling wired, you're feeling anxious a lot of the time, it's because you have so much potential inside you that's just like trying to come out. Like, there's so much potential. You can do so many great big things. Like, if you really want to, you can do it. Of course you can do it. So I think that Spider-Man quote, which is, with great power comes great responsibility. And that's how I saw my, at the time, undiagnosed ADHD. I had to make sure that all this power that I had inside me was like directed in the right way, because if I didn't control the power, it would overtake me and it would ruin my life, and I would become anxious. I would become an anxious mess. Now, the reason, like, I am really upset, I'm really annoyed that I didn't get an official diagnosis when I was in my 20s. I was like, nah, I'm like 99% sure that I'm very strongly on that spectrum there, on the ADHD side. But I just thought, well, there's no point in getting any sort of diagnosis, because it's literally not going to change my life at all. Like, what's it going to do? It'll just put me in this box, and then I'll feel like I have something to lean on all the time as an excuse as to why I struggle with certain things. And I think I was looking at it the wrong way, and I really regret not going and getting some sort of diagnosis, not just for the sake of actually being diagnosed, because like, I already knew I had ADHD. I didn't care if some doctor told me that I did. Like, I don't care what they say. Like, I know how I feel, I know what the traits are, I know what I was like as a kid. So the diagnosis part wasn't important, but what I've learned that was important was actually understanding ADHD on a deeper level. there's so much you can get from that, which doesn't mean you can lean on it as an excuse, but it gives you permission to relax a little bit more when you are struggling with something, to not beat yourself up so much. But also, what's been a big game changer for me is trying, for me personally, I'll just speak personally, trying medication and finding that it has helped like tremendously with my life. And I try to stay at the lowest dose possible. I'm like anti-medication my whole life. I'm like, nah, like stay away from meds. My mindset's always been do as much as you possibly can to make sure that you're living the best life possible before you ever consider anything like medication. And I guess that's what took me until I was 31 to actually really consider, okay, well, like maybe I will try medication. I understand what it does, what it is, and how it helps people, what the risks are, and give that a shot. But I only did that once I really, from my whole life, certainly in my 20s, once I had locked in with my diet, truly locked in with my diet, tried multiple different diets, beef-only diet, cutting out all meat, going pescatarian. I tried it all. High fat, low carb, like keto diets, and I really tried these. I didn't just try them for like a week. I proper tried them for like months. So locking in the diet, seeing what changes that did for me personally. Exercise, making sure I'm exercising all the time, locking in my exercise, going to the gym, finding a community of people around me, having community, having friends, making sure my sleep is good. Sleep is one of the best things. Making sure I'm going to the bed roughly the same time, I'm waking up roughly the same time. And then one of the most important things, making sure that I am moving towards a goal. I have a vision for the future. I know what that looks like and that I'm moving towards it and it's meaningful. And then of course, all the tools like having a scheduled day to day and writing down notes and all of that kind of stuff. Brother, I was locked in. Like I was locked in with so much of that stuff. I wasn't perfect, but boy, oh boy, like I was doing so much to make sure that like all those ducks were aligned. And even though all those ducks were aligned, I was still dealing with too much unnecessary suffering and struggle day to day, week to week. It would come in ebbs and flows, and I could still function day to day. I could still do stuff, but I was having problems and I wasn't thriving. And then what I really did is I tried to understand, okay, well, like I'm doing everything I can. Maybe if I just do the lowest possible dose, we'll just see how it makes me feel. And I won't lie, it's been phenomenal. It's been amazing. I know people say it helps them focus and lock in. For me, it more makes me feel like I am more consistently motivated to do the difficult things day to day. That's really what it does. It also allows me to organize my thoughts better, to ruminate less has been a major one. I don't ruminate on negative thinking nowhere near as much. And so anyway, I'm on the lowest dose possible, and my goal is to just stay at the low dose and try to continue to build these positive habits. And I'm sure a lot of what I'm saying might resonate with some people out there about maybe your childhood or maybe your struggles day to day that you're dealing with. Perhaps you've realized that there's so much more that you could be doing as far as looking after yourself, having a vision for the future, and trying to truly understand ADHD on a deeper level, not just that surface chatter that you hear people talk about. And maybe you're someone that, is considering getting a diagnosis. I guess to those people, I would just say, look, it depends what you want out of it. And it depends if you're actually kind of struggling or not. Because for some people, just understanding what it is on a deeper level is enough to help them. For other people, the medication route changes their lives. Like they say, it's like glasses for your brain. If you're born with bad eyesight, just walk around with bad eyesight all day long. Like you can get through the day, but it's not the easiest thing. It's like, well, hey, we've got these glasses, why don't you wear them? It'll help. And that's kind of like a quick way to describe it's a quick analogy for how people to describe the medication side of ADHD. Glasses for your brain. So maybe that interests you. But you have to work out what benefit you want to gain from getting a diagnosis. Like why are you interested? Is it just because everyone's talking about it? Or because you're actually struggling day to day and you feel like you want to understand why you might be struggling and if ADHD has anything to do with that? And what options you might have to improve your quality of life day to day. If that's the case, then I would look into it. But if you just want to do it because you're like, oh, I just feel like that's me, then I don't know, I'm not sure what you're going to gain. And if you're afraid of getting a diagnosis because you don't want to be put in this box, then I think you're overthinking it. Because it doesn't matter whether you actually have a diagnosis or not. Like, I promise you, you're probably not going to lean on it as much as you think. You're probably not going to change too drastically and be like, oh no, now I've got this diagnosis and blah, blah, blah. Like, at the end of the day, you're just going to be the same person. You just might have a bit more of a deeper understanding of who you are. It doesn't change who you are though. So this is where I'm at now. This is how I manage my ADHD or myself day to day. The things that I know for sure that are very important is to, at the start of every month, I have at least an hour where I realign myself. I have to know where I'm going and why I'm doing it. Based off that, it helps me create my schedule week to week and day to day. Having a schedule is very important. I make sure that I don't eat too much processed shit, because that definitely makes me feel worse. I make sure that I exercise at least 2 to 3 times a week. The more the better, and that looks like the form of, for me, what works really well is cardio-based stuff, like actually getting your heart rate high. For me, it works way better than just say like lifting weights, because my heart rate doesn't get crazy high like it will in a CrossFit workout or for a heavy run or something like that. I definitely make sure that I go to bed roughly the same time each night and I wake up roughly the same time, with about max half an hour either side of whatever that perfect bedtime or wake time is for you. This is a personal thing, but one thing I found dramatically helpful for just managing life in general has been opening up my mind to a bit more spirituality and religion. And so I've always been a very strict thinker, rigid thinker, logical, rational, atheist type of approach. But since opening up my mind a lot more and realizing that I don't know everything and that I can gain so much from diving into the teachings of these other people, that's been wonderful for my mental health and just managing my emotions day to day, because it gives me a bit of an anchor. So when I feel like I'm falling, I only fall so far, if that makes sense. So look into that if that's something that you feel like might help you. And being open and honest and vulnerable with the people around me, the people that are closest to me. And really, whether it's your partner, whether it's your best friends or your parents, just make sure you speak with them regularly and just be honest about how you're feeling and what's going on with you day to day, week to week. Very important to do that. So you're not holding on to this stuff yourself all the time. It's a bad idea, because it will not only make you feel worse, but if it makes you feel worse, then you're not showing up for everybody else. Anyway, that's it from me. If you are struggling with this kind of stuff, especially you're like me and you struggle with anxiety, watch this video over here. Or maybe that one as well. That one's pretty good too. I'll see you guys tomorrow.